I'm Elise Hugh.
And I'm Josh Klein, and we're the hosts of Built for Change, a podcast from Accenture.
On Built for Change, we're talking to business leaders from every corner of the world that are harnessing change to reinvent the future of their business.
We're discussing ideas like the importance of ethical AI or how productivity soars when companies truly listen to what their employees value.
These are insights that leaders need to know to stay ahead.
So subscribe to Built for Change wherever you get your podcasts.
Today on CityCast Boise, Boise has grown a lot over the past few years, but has that made us a more youthful city? In a battle between Gen Z and Millennials, we find out which group should be crowned as the generation that best represents our town. It's Tuesday, November 21st. I'm Evelyn Avitia, and this is what Boise's talking about. Rachel Spacek and Mia Maldonado. We're a couple of young girls living here in Boise and the Treasure Valley. And today we're going to be sharing our opinions of whether or not we're feeling this youthful energy here in Boise. And so before we begin, which generation are you?
I am a proud Gen Z. I was born in 2000, baby.
2000.
That's right. You don't have to count. You don't have to estimate how old I am. It's easy.
I'm just talking because I'm 1999. So I am also a Gen Z girly.
Okay, but you're a 90s girl.
Barely. Rachel, where are you?
I am, as both of you guys know and have pointed out, I am a millennial.
Mm-hmm.
I was born in 1995, baby.
Ooh.
90s girl till the end.
You're young. You're hip.
Mm-hmm. Young millennial for sure. I'm still hip. Really quick story, if I can.
Of course.
We were at the three of us and lots of other of Mia's friends were at her birthday party drinking, and I got a gin and tonic, and apparently that was really obvious that I'm a millennial because of my gin and tonic.
No one drinks gin and tonic.
I have never seen someone order that. I was speechless. I was like, okay.
I was like, ew.
I'm like, what do you mean you're not drinking an AMF right now? Oh my God.
You guys, gin and tonics were my college experience.
I can't.
Well, over the past few years, we've really seen Boise's population grow. Data has shown that Idaho's population is getting younger. One group really taking the lead is the Millennials. Does that surprise you guys?
Woo! First of all, go Millennials. I actually feel like, I'm just going to get into this. I feel like I can tell that Boise's population is older. And whether that is millennial or even older generations than millennial, I think that's what I'm seeing in the community.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it comes as a surprise to me either. I have always felt that Boise wants to be super young and hip and youthful, but it's just not there, in my opinion. I think it definitely does radiate that we're still young, but we're not young energy. Rachel, no shade here, but you moved here from California a few years ago. And how did Boise become your new home? What stood out to you? Did it really grow on you?
Well, I can tell you, Evelyn, I never thought I would live in Idaho. I am a Bay Area girl, big city, California girl forever. So yeah, sometimes I think about how I'm here. I've been here for 5 years and I wonder how that happened. But I will say Boise has grown on me. I feel like after moving here, I'm less of a big city person. I still prefer, I still prefer downtown to the suburbs and things like that. But I kind of really like the nice little life that we all get to have in Boise with the hills and the dog friendliness and just all of my friends are within like a 15-minute drive.
Yeah, I love that for you. And Mia, you're our Coeur d'Alene girl. You went to school here in Caldwell, and then you became a Boise girl. Why'd you decide to stay here?
Yeah, so I mean, I love Coeur d'Alene. It was a beautiful place to grow up, and it gave me like so much appreciation for the outdoors. But I chose to stay in Boise, one, because work opportunities. I mean, yes, it's Boise is the big city of Idaho. 230,000 people out here. But I like it. I mean, it's still Idaho, but there is more diversity. And I feel like I've really found my group of friends here, whether it be through work, college friends. I feel like I found my people. And I agree with Rachel. It's a really clean, safe city. And everything is super accessible. And honestly, every time I go to a different city or different state, it just makes me appreciate Boise so much more.
Well, growing up here, I always had this idea that I would move away and I would go live in a big city. And now it's crazy to me, but I just can't even imagine that. I think with like the way that Boise is evolving, I almost have like FOMO thinking about living elsewhere. But also I have this urge of like, okay, I got to leave because I know that I can always come back. I think Boise has that effect on people.
I think I am exactly in the same boat as you. Like all throughout college, I was like, I'm going to be a like big city reporter. Like I want to cover Washington, D.C. Like I want to cover the White House. And now I'm just like city council. Like I love it.
I'm the same. I'm like, I'm going to be a foreign correspondent. Like I'm leaving Idaho. I'm moving abroad. But then I'm just like, anytime somebody asks me, what's your next plan? I'm like, I like Idaho. I want to stay here.
Yeah, it's also so interesting because my mom would always be like, this is the greatest place to raise kids. When I was younger, she would always talk about how everybody was so old. She's always like, yeah, we're surrounded by a lot of older people, the boomers. And now it's really crazy to me seeing so many young first generation Latinos that I grew up here with, like in this area. It's like this new era of like, us being in this area, taking on these jobs, like building our community. It's been absolutely insane to see that. And so that's why I'm like, okay, I do feel that youthful vibe here in Boise.
I think when I first moved here like 5 years ago, one thing that I heard from a lot of people in the Latino community was that a lot of young Latinos were leaving the state, going to bigger cities, pursuing, activism or things like that, but outside of Idaho. And so I think it's great for the community to see those young people maybe staying, like you said, and kind of deciding to pursue their interests in Idaho.
Definitely.
Totally.
Yeah, Boise's evolving. Goodbye, boomers. Goodbye, millennials. No, just kidding.
We're taking over.
I'm Elise Hugh.
And I'm Josh Klein, and we're the hosts of Built for Change, a podcast from Accenture.
On Built for Change, we're talking to business leaders from every corner of the world that are harnessing change to reinvent the future of their business.
We're discussing ideas like the importance of ethical AI or how productivity soars when companies truly listen to what their employees value.
These are insights that leaders need to know to stay ahead.
So subscribe to Built for Change wherever you get your podcasts.
This episode is brought to you by Klaviyo, the platform that powers smarter digital relationships. With Klaviyo, you can activate all your customer data in real time, connect seamlessly with your customers across all channels, guide your marketing strategy with AI-powered insights, recommendations, and automated assistance, deliver experiences that feel individually designed at scale, and grow your business faster. Power smarter digital relationships with Klaviyo. Learn more at klaviyo.com/Spotify. That's KLAVIYO.com/Spotify.
Let's dive into some factors that a lot of people take into consideration when they're moving to a new place or they're really just considering like, is this my home? And I want to talk to you guys to see if you think this benefits or favors the Gen Z or millennials more. So the first one is probably one of the most important ones, and that's the cost of living. What are our thoughts on that?
So in college, I did this research project about affordable housing. And a theme throughout that project was just every single person I talked to, parents, people in city council, they would tell me, yeah, my children still live at home because realistically, if they want to move out, they're going to have to find several roommates. And so I think realistically in Boise and the greater Treasure Valley, like if you're straight out of college like me, it's going to be really hard to live by yourself. And I think we're seeing a lot of us have like we need roommates. No one's at my age is going to be able to buy a house unless you're like special or you're thriving. I don't know, but like, yeah.
Yeah, that's so true. I mean, putting cost of living and housing together, I do live at home with my parents, and I'm living real cozy because I'm like, okay, thank you, mom and dad. I am like, I don't want to leave. I don't want to pay rent. I don't want to have like roommates.
I'm so jealous of you.
I think even as a millennial, I'm older than 23. Newsflash. I'm actually almost 30, but I agree that it's like impossible to live without a roommate. I lived by myself in a tiny, tiny apartment in the North End in like this falling apart house converted into apartments, and I think it was like 900 or it might have been 800, and I was barely able to make that, and now that's like unheard of for a place like for under $1,000. I don't think you can find that anywhere in Boise.
That is wild.
So yeah, I really love living by myself, so I feel like if you do like that, Boise might be a really hard place for you. I live with my fiance, and he's sometimes a good roommate.
And your little baby.
Yeah, my 2 little babies, Evelyn. She, of course, forgot about the cat because she hates cats.
Oopsies.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, there were so many reports in 2020 talking about how a lot of millennials made their way over to Boise because they could afford houses. So yeah, tying that into housing, cost of living, all that. If you're an older millennial, you're making your money, like you're thriving. You're thriving. But us Gen Zs are having fun, right? We're chilling. We're making it work.
I will say, full transparency, I do think if you are on that double income in Boise and like you have a bit of a savings, like I do think it's still possible to buy a house here, because I bought a house last year with my boyfriend at the time, and it was doable. It was really hard for us, but it was doable. And like, we're both journalists, like we don't make a lot of money. Like my mom helped me a little bit, but I do think it's still possible. But without that like double income, I think it's like really hard.
Mm-hmm. So our arts and entertainment scene, I feel like I'm constantly complaining that there's nothing to do. I'm always like, okay, the same thing over and over again. This might be a me problem of like, you're just not putting yourself out there. You're not looking for things to do. But I'm like, why would I want to go to the club every single weekend? Like, right? Like, I'm like, what else is there to do? What am I looking for? It's the same stuff over and over again. Is there a youthful Gen Z thriving community that I'm just not a part of?
I will say Boise has a really nice music scene, and like,
oh yeah,
like really, yes, we don't have like like Bad Bunny's not coming to Boise, right?
Yeah,
but we have
but he's going to Utah. Okay.
Yeah. But we have a lot of smaller artists that come to Boise. And so like that's become something I love doing, is like going to smaller venues, smaller gigs, and discovering new artists. We have this really great music festival, Tree4, and then Flipside Fest. And I think Boise has a really good like local artist scene.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I do. And I see a lot of people my age, also millennials are there.
Mia's like, unfortunately, they're millennials when I go out ordering their gin and tonics.
I think I'm just a little mature for my age, you know? I go to breweries and stuff.
You know what? Maybe I just need to spend more times with millennials. Rachel, where are you taking me? What are we doing? What are we hitting up?
Okay, I think my favorite thing to do, like, I'm not really into the clubbing. Like, I'll go clubbing with you guys, like, on a special occasion. But, like, I'm getting my, like, wine. I'm getting my drinks at, like, 8 o'clock. Like, maybe I'm getting a little charcuterie board.
Ooh, yes.
Wow.
Going to the, like, outdoor patios that at the really quiet places. And that's where I'm hanging out with my fellow millennials. And then we go home and watch TV late at night. So that's what I'm doing. And then you can get up earlier in the day and go on a hike or something.
That actually sounds really nice.
Yeah, hikes are really nice.
All right. Well, final question. What do we think? Which generation thrives the most in Boise, and who best represents this city?
I don't know if I still have a clear answer to that, but I did ask a fellow millennial at work who like what she thought, just because I was like worried coming into this conversation that you guys were going to outnumber me. So she doesn't think it is a Gen Z or millennial city. She thinks it's for even an older generation, more old school, upper middle class, 50 to 60-year-old scene. And yeah, she thinks that Boise is kind of like maybe not as open for, you know, the anyone who doesn't identify as like a straight white, you know, semi-wealthy person, that Boise might still kind of cater to that demographic.
That is so wild you said that, because I actually asked our good friend Nicole Foy, who is the founder of the Bosses internship, and she was like, I actually think that Boise is a Gen X city, which is 1965 through 1980.
Yeah. I think Nicole and my friend have the same idea.
I can see that. I can see that.
I mean, I'm going to be real. I know I'm Gen Z, but I don't think it's a Gen Z city.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a very family-oriented city, and I think it's very outdoorsy. You know, there's like one street where there's clubs in Boise, and that's it. And yes, we have BSU, but I would see more millennial Gen X as well.
100%. Yeah. I agree that we aren't a super youthful city. I think that most young people are like, I'm getting out of here. I'm getting out of here. And eventually they find their way back when they are millennials, maybe. Or yeah, just we have more of that older millennial Gen X coming into Boise and Idaho. But as much as I'd like for us to be this like crazy young city, I just don't see that happening.
Totally. And I think you bring up a really good point. Like, even me, I love Idaho, but at some point I want to experience life outside of Idaho. And so maybe that will be in the next few years. But yeah, I want to come back to Idaho. And so I think that's a common thing that we'll see in our generation.
I love that. How cute. All right. Well, Mia and Rachel, thank you so much for joining me in this conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. Always have a great time.
Thank you so much. Loved it.
That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. If you enjoyed the show, why not leave us a review? We'll be back tomorrow morning with more local stories from around the city. Bye. Woo! We did it.